dad and mother bought it in 21. And I just got state identification of a 100-year century farm in the same family. We grew corn, soybeans, and peanuts. Peanuts were called a cash crop because you sold it at the end of the year and you got money. Corn was grown to feed livestock, and you sold your corn through your hogs. It basically is what you did. And you could take corn and put it out and what we call protein supplement. We used to go over to the plant where they would get rid of dead animals and scraps and stuff and make tankage, cook it and dry it out and put it in a bag. It smelled terrible, but we would bring it home and you could put tankage in one feed of corn in the other. And hogs have a way of balancing their ration. They won't eat all tankage or all corn. They balance their ration, and that's the way we did it. You planted soybeans back then and corn. The corn hopper had a place for soybeans, and you would drop soybeans in the row with corn. The purpose of that was, once you harvest the corn, then you put the hogs in the field to glean the field, and you didn't have to provide soybeans was the protein. We as kids spent most all summer in the field pulling grass and weeds. I don't know when it was, probably very late 50s. They came up with a chemical called atrazine that you could spray corn that would kill weeds. It wouldn't kill grass, but it would kill weeds. And that was a blessing to kids. I often wondered why so many people, farm families, had so many children. And basically, this is my thought. They needed boys to help run the farm. We had a family that lived on the farm that helped my daddy. But my dad and mother, they raised chickens, 4,000 chickens. We sold eggs to a hatchery in Suffolk, and we would take those eggs and put them in 30 dozen cartons, and they would come get them and take them and hatch them out. I remember when you go through a flock of chickens, you used to count your eggs every day. The chicken houses were probably 200-300 yards long. Yeah, I had a lot of chicken houses, and matter of fact, one of my classmates used to call me Chicken. I never liked it very much, but everybody had nicknames. Chicken business helped put us through college. We raised hogs. The old saying was, hogs need for more farms in Isle of Wight County than any other thing. The advantage to having hogs is that you sell. And I know my wife and I, we get ready to go on a trip somewhere, I go look, see how many hogs I could take to the plant and sell, cash money to go on a vacation or something like that. That was a cash flow that you had to take care of livestock and others throughout the year. I think to study agriculture economics. By putting economics in, that gave you a broader spectrum. That's what I majored in. Fully intended to come home and spend the rest of my life on. We had 3 bad years of growth, and my wife told me one day, I work hard, teaching school, put money in the bank, and you're throwing away on farm. You must have read like when it was a principal. I was digging beans one day. I saw him coming across the field. I drove the school bus to pick up extra money and all that. And he said, Peyton, you gonna drive the bus this afternoon? And I said, oh my goodness, Mr. Reed, I forgot this. I took care of it this morning, but I don't want to take care of it this afternoon. And then about 2 weeks later, I see him coming across the field again. And he said, we need an agriculture teacher at Smithfield High School. Would you be interested in doing, or would you substitute until we can get somebody who could do it? And I thought, paycheck every month, health insurance, and then the superintendent wanted me to come out to central office and work out payroll. That's how I ended up with the school system. I love the school system. I can't think of a day that I went to work that didn't look forward to. I just love working with livestock. When I was a kid, and I'm saying 6 or 8 years old, we had cows on the farm for milk. And my dad would milk too, and I would milk one as a kid. And he would milk two before I could do one. And what we used to do is take the milk to the house. Back then we had a kerosene refrigerator, and my mother would put milk in porcelain pans and set it and let the cream rise, then skim the cream off and put it in a container to make butter and things of that sort. I just loved doing for the animals, gets them a blood. My daddy bought a F12 farm tractor, and it had about a 25 horsepower. Had no hydraulics or anything. All it did had a pulley, because a lot of farm equipment as he grew and worked off a belt on pulley to the tractor. The peanut picker worked on the same thing. It had a long belt, and you would feed the peanut picker. And we had mules. The mules knew. It's funny how much they know. The slaughter plant, they would blow a whistle at 12 o'clock that everybody in the plant could hear. That means stop production, and everybody would eat lunch. And then at 1 o'clock, they would blow the whistle. Well, if you're in the field at 12 o'clock and that whistle blew, that mule made a straight line to the house. No matter what you did, we'd take the lines and beat them and all that. Wouldn't make a straight line to the house. They were programmed to do that. Feed them, and then at 1 o'clock you go get them. And people have asked me why didn't you have horses? Horses were stronger generally than a mule, but a mule had more stamina. During the Second World War, they utilized a lot of mules. And over here at Newport News, it was a port of demarcation where they was all around Newport News area. They raised a lot of mules, and my daddy knew where to go to get a mule if you need one. And it's sort of interesting, and everybody had them and had names, and always wanted a horse. And my daddy said, "Go ride the mule." So that's what we did. After the war was over, things were quite different.
Supply and demand rule the meat business.
Farm prices skyrocketed. My father was exempt from the war because they needed farmers to stay here to provide food for the war effort. Germans, they would bring them on a bus and unload them. You had 2 guards with shotguns, and we would have all these pitchforks and everything. They would come in, and then they would rotate around farms, and each farmer would pay the prison system that was keeping them so much money. And the only requirement you had was that you had to feed them lunch. Soup. They would eat soup all the time. And I used to feel sorry for them because you don't get a decent meal, but they did at the prison camp. The war got over in 45. I think it was around then, or maybe a year or so afterwards, that we still had some in the prison before they sent them back. I never understood why they were here. They were captured, of course, and they were put on ships and sent here. We'd have 8 or 10, and there were others that were going to other farms, and it's sort of like the migratory labor thing used to be. They plan ahead, and you move from one farm to another. And I'm proud that I was on the farm. It was in my blood.